Friends, good morning and welcome to another edition of SPTV News Live, where we keep you up to date on the latest horseshit in the criminal cult of Scientology. Today's video asks the question, is John Travolta, because it's all the rage in the tabloids as of late, is he leaving or distancing himself from the cult? The answer is a resounding fuck no. Friends, every 6 months or so, maybe every year, there's always new speculation that Tom Cruise misses Surrey and therefore he's going back to her. He didn't show up in England for the last few years. His flight logs show he never showed up at the St. Hill headquarters until the recent event a few weeks ago. John Travolta must be feeling bad, as I'm sure he does actually, about the loss of Jet and his wife, and therefore he must be peeling away, not understanding the indoctrination, the decades-long indoctrination, and that it's not as simple as people might think. And every once in a while, or every so often, it comes up that just because John Travolta didn't show up at the IAS event about 3.5 weeks ago, while Tom Cruise and the elf himself, David Miscavige, Jenna Elfman, other celebrities in Wales were there, therefore he must be leaving the cult. We just covered this in the last video a little bit, where new photos were put out on Scientology's own website of the elf, celebrities, and the front row elite at Scientology's IAS Gala. And just because John Travolta wasn't there, he must therefore be missing. But there's new evidence that's come in, not that it's hard to figure out, that he is in fact involved. And we'll talk about at the end what the likelihood is of him actually leaving and what it might take. I'd like to hear your opinions too. So if you have any questions, please throw them up there with the question marks, as you can see below, and we'll get into it. So the elf's nod to John Travolta at the recent IAS Gala debunks another tabloid leaving Scientology fantasy. In the ongoing saga of tabloid rumors. Actually, let me throw you guys here in the chat. No, I'll throw you here in the chat after I read this. I want you to see this. So, in the ongoing saga of tabloid rumors surrounding Tom Cruise and John Travolta's alleged departure from the cult, recent events have debunked the speculation, initially fueled by flight data indicating Cruise's absence from Scientology's UK headquarters, as we just discussed. The rumors ignored the fact that Scientology cult leader David Miscavige hadn't visited St. Hill during the pandemic. That's the main reason, my friends, why they haven't had any huge, major IAS-like events in the last few years. Common sense could have allowed the tabloids to figure that out. Cruise's recent appearance at the IAS Gala alongside the elf and other Scientologists dispelled the notion of his departure. Similarly, rumors about Travolta leaving were refuted when Miscavige mentioned him in a positive light during a speech. We'll cover that and show you the recently leaked clip suggesting Travolta's continued loyalty to Scientology founder L. Con Hubbard. And this video today is going to highlight the media's tendency to sensationalize and conclude that concrete evidence is needed before entertaining the notion of Cruise or Travolta leaving Scientology. Let's get into the story, and let me throw you guys in the chat over here. Again, if you have any questions and or speculations, throw up the question marks, and we'll take them up towards the end. This comes from Tony Ortega's reporting this morning, and we have some Daily Mail reporting, etc., which will round out and hopefully help to dispel these ongoing rumors and clickbait shit that comes out literally every week, it seems. So last week, the National Enquirer, obviously a great source of information, and Radar and even Yahoo jumped in with a new theory. Tom Cruise might have been at the event, but John Travolta wasn't. So that suggests that Travolta, of course, must be leaving Scientology. Come on, people. Once again, these stories relied on unnamed anonymous sources, and there are plenty of former high-ranking Scientologists who would be happy to be consulted on such a story. We can tell you from our own experience that we've been watching the annual IAS galas very closely for many years, and we don't remember John Travolta ever showing up at one. So the fact that he didn't attend this one really doesn't mean anything at all. That's absolutely correct. In all the years that I've been in Scientology and gone to endless events over 2 decades, I've never seen John Travolta there either. However, a user by the name of Axiom142 does remember seeing Travolta attend one IAS Gala around 2004. So there's been about one attendance in the last 20 years. In other words, it's irrelevant that he wasn't there, but the tabloids often go bonkers and are looking for anything to try to, debunk that. So, and now we have evidence to the opposite that Travolta is still firmly in the fold. A prostate Alex released a video the other day, which is just the audio of David Miscavige rambling on and on about just all the wins and fake bullshit, blah, blah, blah. But I'm just going to play this segment where he is basically talking about, let me word clear this first. Sorry to use a Scientology term, but you're not going to understand what the hell Miscavige is saying in this clip unless I give a little bit of background. So this is the 3-hour event that we talked about in yesterday's video, where he rambles on and on while showing graphs and all sorts of visuals showing how great Scientology has been doing in the last 3 to 4 years during the pandemic while they haven't had any major events. And part of that is something called the volunteer ministers. I call them the volunteer sinisters because they're vultures in yellow vests that go out to any disaster, whether that's 9/11, Hurricane Katrina, or as you're going to see, Travolta attending the recent disaster in Florida, Hurricane Ian, I believe. These are the people that go there and offer water and support. And they do Scientology things called nerve assist and touch assist. And basically, it's just for PR. It's to get a photo op to make it look like Scientology is helping people. They have the yellow vests that stand out among other disaster relief helpers. And what they do is they have all sorts of photo and video that they then feed back to the people in the bubble world to keep at least them in, to show them at the events how much they're helping all over the world, be it Narconon, the volunteer ministers, or 100 other front groups that they have. So what David is saying in this, he starts off with a disaster that happens in, I can't remember the country, but you're going to hear it. And then he jumps on, he uses the word VM, which stands for volunteer ministers. And he says something along the lines of the yellow jackets. And those are the aforementioned volunteer ministers as well. So you're going to hear him ramble about one disaster that the VMs helped, and then you'll hear him mention Travolta in this. And he wouldn't mention Travolta. I highly doubt it, unless he was still in the cult. So let's go ahead and play this. And here's the aforementioned John Travolta involved in relief efforts in Fort Myers, Florida, which you're going to hear about right now in wake of Hurricane Ian, as he brings food and supplies, not to mention the creepy-ass touch assist and nerve assist. They conveniently leave that out. Here's the elf himself 3 weeks ago talking about the VMs, or volunteer sinisters.
Pakistan, a monsoon on steroids and melting glaciers put 30% of the country underwater, displacing 8 million. But teams of VMs, including medical doctors, perform triage and dispense emergency rations across 11 inundated sites. They also run volunteer minister seminars morning to night, all of which is why 13,000 will never forget the yellow shirts. Florida, Hurricane Ian slams the southwest coast, making landfall at Category 4. But IAS Freedom Medal winner John Travolta airlifts urgent provisions for utterly decimated communities, whereupon Florida's megaforce of VMs takes over distribution, relieving stranded families everywhere in any way, all to help 5,000 get back on solid ground.
There you go. That's the recent clip. Now, it doesn't necessarily, prove that Travolta's not, we can't get inside of his headspace. We don't know what the recent trauma of losing his wife, etc. did. My opinion is, though, and we'll discuss it at the end, that he is so into Scientology's tech, he considered that to be the reason he got acting in the beginning. And we've discussed that in deep dive videos with Marcus Sawyer, talking about Tom Cruise and John Travolta and their whole history of how they got into it, which I think would give more information as to what it would take for them to, actually leave. So, carrying on. So this was surprising, not only because the elf normally doesn't mention the cult celebrities during these speeches, that's true, but also because we know that Travolta is not one of the elf's favorite people, and he does not have the same kind of relationship with him that he does with Cruise. Quote, Miscavige is always ready to throw shade on John Travolta to make sure Tom knows he is the number one favorite horse in the stable, Mike Rinder tells us. And if you'd not normally give Travolta a shout out during one of these speeches, Dave probably included him this time because, quote, in the world of the cult these days, any freaking good news at all is hard to come by. That's true. Rinder also says that he wouldn't be surprised if the elf and Cruise, while they were palling around at St. Hill recently, that they were making snide comments about John Travolta between them. But the point remains, the elf did include Travolta in his speech, and that's not something he would have done if Travolta left the church. Travolta, here's the main reason why I don't think he would leave anytime in the near future. Travolta's loyalty has always been to L. Con Hubbard, not the elf, and we have seen no evidence that he's pushing away, as the tabloids so desperately want us to believe. No doubt in the coming weeks, months, and years, of course, we will hear again and again and again from the tabloids that Cruise or Travolta have left Scientology. Not only is it lucrative clickbait for them, did you guys notice how I titled this video today? Taking a little note from here. Is John Travolta leaving the cult? Y'all had to tune in, didn't you? Not only is it lucrative clickbait for them, but we think they simply cannot or don't want to understand how deeply these two celebrities feel connected to Scientology. Exactly. Travolta, we've been told by people who knew him well, ascribes to all of his success, not least acting, as we covered in the deep dive videos, which I'll link, to L. Con Hubbard. Cruise, we were told by Jean Berzeau, who worked very closely with him, worships the elf like a god. So we're going to need some more convincing evidence than helicopter manifests or missed attendance at a gala before we're considered that either of these figures are walking away. And here you can see Travolta involved in relief efforts at Fort Myers, Florida, in the wake of Hurricane Ian. Again, as he brings food, supplies, and touches this. And this is dated October 11th, 2022. So that's just a year ago that he's clearly involved. Let me read a little bit out of this, and we'll watch a brief video of him shilling for the cult. So John Travolta took to Instagram on Monday, encouraging his 4.5 million followers to help with relief efforts in Florida in the wake of Hurricane Ian. One of the reasons he might like to specifically do Florida here too is because that's where the cult headquarters are located. One of them in Clearwater, known as Flag Land Base. So he would have some, quote, affinity for that area and helping them out. And he says, hi, I just got to Fort Myers with some food and supplies and touch assist for those who were affected by the hurricane, the Oscar-nominated star 68 said. And if you do want to help, just contact volunteerflorida.org. Notice they leave out volunteerministerflorida.org. They always try to disguise their front groups where it cannot be tracked back easily to Scientology. And here's a video of him. I love how these tabloids, by the way, say, as if this has any relevance, the New Jersey-born actor sported a clean-shaven head with a goatee as he wore a black jacket over a black polo shirt, as if that has any relevance at all. Okay, so here's the video of him, very quick video of him pimping for it.
Hi, I just got to Fort Myers with some food and supplies for those who were affected by the hurricane. And if you want to help, you just contact volunteerflorida.org. That's it. Thanks.
Okay, there you go. There's not much else to read there. Just a quick video to smash the tabloid rumors and to show that quick clip that was captured in the audio of Dave clearly saying that John Travolta, is being an excellent volunteer sinister. And again, I don't think it's likely for him to leave. If you want to know more about that, because we could spend an hour on speculating about that, again, I'll link the videos that show how him and John got in and why it might actually be difficult for them to leave, even with various and many losses that, of course, come with just being a member of the Scientology cult. Okay, so stand by for 1 second. Okay, do you guys have any questions or comments before we roll out of here? We're going to go out with an outro too that has some hidden camera footage of the elf at a board meeting, which I'm excited to lead out with. But before that, let me see what questions we have here. First of all, good morning, my friend. Davlin, good morning from Bakersfield, California. Good morning from Los Angeles. Lydia, how you doing? Haven't seen you for a while. Evening from Scotland. What time is it over there, my friend? Be curious to know. Tim, how are you? Definitely haven't seen you for a while, my friend. Is it possible that Revolta, I see what you did there, is wanting out, but the elf gives the shout out just to maintain appearances? That's a good question, my man. I would say absolutely not. That's just my opinion. What do I base that on? If he knew that John Travolta was distancing himself or leaving, and there's an event where it's his big comeback, like this IAS event. I mean, this is the first time the dude, as well as Tom Cruise and other celebrities, have kind of come out of the shadow to promote that, hey, we're back. We never went away and we're here to stay. Let's say Travolta left like in a year or two. That would make this whole event look shitty upon Miscavige. I would think that he would have pretty clear evidence that even though he talks shit about John Travolta behind his back, and Travolta probably knows that he's not Miscavige's favorite either. I don't think Travolta even likes Miscavige. He wants the tech, man. He wants the very thing that he feels helps his life out in every way, that got him his initial acting career, etc., whether he gets along with David or not. But for him to leave, I think it would take, I don't think he's going to leave. That's just my opinion. I hope I'm wrong on that. I really hope I'm wrong on that. But again, for many and various reasons that we discussed in those deep dive videos, it would be a hell of a conundrum for him. And the decompression to come to terms with, taking Scientology in favor of possibly being able to, save his son, to not maybe take him off the medication that caused him to hit his head in the bathtub. Kelly Preston, it's pure speculation, but could her cancer have been treated earlier? Did Scientology's influence have any say in that? Kelly was at the top of the bridge. She was an OT that should be able to mind over matter cancer, like a lot of Scientologists think that we can do. So if he gets out of Scientology and realizes it's all a scam or starts peeling that onion, I think in his age and the trauma that he'd have to come to terms with that he participated in, I just personally think that might be a bit too much. And also, I think he's getting something out of it by being in there. It does allow you to hide your secrets. You get a kind of a mafia-esque protection. That's not quite right, but you get protection where you can be shielded from a lot of stuff if you're in Scientology. Kristen, how are you? How can Scientology get away with storing people's personal information with the current GDPR regulations? I don't know what the GDPR regulations are currently, but the way they get away with it is because you sign these contracts that say that you're giving away your rights to have Scientology record your data and that it belongs to the cult and you can never get them back when you get out. Those are apparently legally upheld. I don't know why, my friend. It's all ridiculous. But under the guise of religion, when you sign away these religious contracts, some of them, sorry for the light going out, by the way, in the background. I hope that's not giving anybody seizures or something, but I got to fix it. That's what's going on there. So they're just allowed to do it. I'm not a lawyer. I'd like to know why those contracts are upheld so much. But in a video called The Bridge to Total Amnesia Part 2, I show you guys the contracts that you sign appertaining to this specifically, Kristen, and why they're allowed to record everything. And you can see how crazy, devious, and insane they are. And I'll link that in the description box. But I don't know, man. It all seems crazy to me, but I think that their religious protection is a big part of that. But then what about in other countries where they don't have religious tax exempt status? People still have a almost impossible time getting their folders back. I don't know of anybody, maybe there's been one or two, but I don't know of anybody that's actually left Scientology and then gotten their PC folders back or pre-clear folders. It's a great question, Kristen. Thanks. Cultiverse, by the way, I see that you're here. Do you have any answer to that? Escaping the cultiverse, being on staff. Would you have any more detail on that question that Kristen asked? Okay, this one right here, Gabrielle. Love it. How you doing, my friend? Hey, Doug, I believe that Aaron said that John Travolta is not OT. Is that true? I think he is an OT. I don't know for sure, but I thought he was OT 5-ish. If I'm just going off of memory, I'd be shocked if he had only achieved clear. It's possible, though. I don't know. I'll have to look into that, love it. And if I can find anything, I'll link it. Maybe he didn't get onto the OT levels because of being, a closet homosexual, obviously, and that would possibly keep him from going up the bridge. However, promise you guys, I'm going to get around to this video. Catherine Bell is in a lesbian relationship and has been for many years. She's an OT and is still a Scientologist in good standing, remarkably enough. So sometimes if you're a celebrity, the rules can be bent anyways. And John Travolta might have been able to go through the security check requirements to get onto the OT levels, but I'll definitely have to look into that. I don't know. Let me see if we have any more questions. Give me 1 second, guys, to roll through this because there's a lot here and I don't want to miss anybody's if I did. Thanks, man. You're the first one that I just saw here. Love your channel. I'm thrilled about seeing you live. Thanks, dude. Live stream. My comment isn't interesting. Full disclosure, I thought it would be neato mosquito to watch it scroll up. My life is dull. I hope this made your life a little less dull. You can now say, you can call up your friends and say, dude, I got flashed up on a video today. I hope that helps out a little bit, man. That's a great comment. Hey, Greg, how are you, man? Was Barry Pepper and Forrest Whitaker ever in the cult? No, not to my knowledge. Or were they just in Battlefield Earth for the paycheck? Just for the paycheck. And Barry Pepper, he's a good actor, man. I like him. Forrest Whitaker's awesome. I'm sure they got paid quite handsomely to be in that too, because surely they knew they were taking some risk by being in such a shitty L. Ron Hubbard directly related movie. But maybe they were a little low on money or credits that year and took it because they were made an offer they can't resist. Let me see if there's any more questions, my friends. Stand by, please. Escaping the cultiverse. How are you doing, Gabrielle? Question, Doug, do you really think that he'd be doing any services given his homosexuality since the cult is heavily homophobic? That's a great question, and you might be able to answer that better than I can, having been on staff and the knowledge that you have. Well, what about this, Gabrielle? When he stand by for lighting the cigarette. When Jet died, as you probably know, he had auditors, Scientology auditors that were at his house and at his beck and call to give him an auditing session whenever he needed to get over the grief. And then he spent a lot of time at his house because he didn't want to be in public. And he had handlers all around him, Scientology handlers, to give him anything that he needed. And they purposely isolated him in the name of help to make sure that he doesn't leave because of this. Often people can leave because of an extreme trauma, like losing your son or losing Kelly Preston, right? So in particular, the cult goes into high control mode to make sure that the celebrity has everything they want, to throw a few extra auditors and handlers at his house to make sure that he doesn't leave that bubble world. And if you listen to interviews with John Travolta at that time when he's losing his son, he gives the church all the credit to helping him get through that very moment when the opposite would be true. If he can just leave, right, guys? I mean, everybody wants him to leave. Everybody says he's basically a really nice guy and all that. We'd all want to see him leave a little bit more than Tom Cruise and give him a little bit more of a leeway and not be so hard on him and welcome him with open arms if he left. And Tom Cruise would be a different story. I think people would have questions, but obviously Tom Cruise leaving could bring probably the whole cult down, or at least many, many people would have questions if Tom Cruise ever left. Any questions before we roll out of here? Okay, I see that. Unless we already got this, love it. Okay, yeah, so we got that. Guys, I don't want to keep you here forever. This is a short video and there's more to do. So again, let me leave you with the second leak that came out. The first one by Alex, who provided the the leaked footage that you heard. And if you want to listen to that 3-hour incredibly droning video where Miscavige even sounds hypnotic and weird in his voice, I'll link Alex's video of that in the description box. And then there's another leaked video that just came out yesterday of the elf himself at a board meeting. I'm sure he's pissed about that. Anyways, thanks for joining us this morning, my friends. I hope you have a good rest of your day or night, wherever you're at, and we shall see you soon.
You feeling strong, my friend? Call me Elf one more time.
He's an angry elf. Look at you! Ow! Hey, what? I wasn't ready for that.
Call me Elf one more time. Call me Elf.
You're an elf.